I got a running theory here on why there was such a massive, massive backlash, on why you had the likes of Kid Rock and Travis Tritt and all of these conservative stars coming out in mass and saying, that's it, we've had it. F Bud Light, we've had it. You crossed the line here. And my running theory, you want to grab your pen for this one. My running theory draws from classical geopolitics, ancient geopolitics. And ancient geopolitics recognized very different spatial logics that operate between what they called sea powers and land powers. So the Greek term, the ancient Greek term, would be thalassocracies. Sorry, I always get that wrong. Thalassocracies for sea powers and teleocracies for land powers. Thalassocracies and thalassocracies, yeah, and teleocracies. Those are fancy schmancy words that designate sea powers versus land powers. And the interesting theory here is that societies that are built on coasts by the sea tend to create very different cultures than those that are built in heartlands. So land cultures generally are very fixed. They're very traditional. And that's because the land doesn't change. The land exemplifies a sense of permanence that's then reflected in the culture. And culture anthropologists have talked about that, how the culture we create inevitably interacts with our ecology. And so that's why you get different cultures in different regions of the world. I mean, just even think about our music instruments. Our music instruments are very ecological. So if you go to the Middle East, they'll have their own instrument. If you go to the rainforest, they'll have their own instruments because they're making the instruments. Their instruments are being designed from their ecology, right? From the land resources around them. So people who are land people who are in the heartland tend to create a particular kind of culture that reflects the permanence and the stability of land. But sea-oriented cultures are very different if you think about it, right? They're generally in flux. They love change. They love fluidity. And that's because the sea is constantly moving without a hard center. Think of the term astronaut. That's a very interesting word. Astro is Greek for star, and naut comes from the Greek novtos, which is we derive the word nautical from it. So the astronaut is literally floating through space, right? Where there's no center, there's no gravity, very much like the sea. And so the politics that tend to derive from these two contrasting spaces, land and sea, are often very different. And so my running theory here is that America's heartland, and all of you, most of my audience is obviously from the heartland, but America's heartland, the space of patriots and patriot culture, Christianity, trucks, guns, country music, faith, family, and freedom. People in that culture are generally very tolerant people. That's the hilarity in terms of the disparity of how we're portrayed among the woke legacy media. But we're incredibly tolerant people, especially with wokeness. And here's the key, though. As long as wokeness stays on its side of that geographical political divide, as long as it stays in coastal elite centers like LA or Orlando or New York, right? So if Disney wants to go woke, go ahead. We don't care. If Hollywood wants to go woke, go ahead. We don't give a flip what you do in LA. If Netflix wants to go woke, hey, go for it. Nike, NBA, we could care less. We don't give a rip. But the moment Bud Light decided to go woke, the moment the beer of choice among so many in the heartland, the moment Bud Light decided to sort of cross that political geographical barrier and try to bring wokeness into the heartland, into one of the staples of the heartland, that was it. You crossed a line. That's when it left its legitimate confines, as it were, of its own spatial political parameters, and tried to invade the heartland. And the heartland collectively said what? What did the heartland collectively say? Well, you heard it from Kid Rock, right? F Bud Light. Hell no. You're not welcome here. Get the hell out. This is our home and we're not moving. You're not taking it. Hey, gang, as you know, the left is bringing the culture war to corporate America. That's why redballoon.work is so important for this nation's future. Red Balloon is a first-of-its-kind job board that connects values-aligned workers with values-aligned companies. If you're a business owner looking for job seekers, stop using the woke job boards like Indeed and ZipRecruiter. Instead, post your jobs on Red Balloon and find people who build your company culture, not tear it down. Go to redballoon.work/Turley to get 10% off your first month's job posting. And if you're looking for a job, post your resume on Red Balloon and find an employer who won't force you to pledge allegiance to crazy leftist ideas. There's a groundswell of Americans standing up to the force-fed liberal culture in our schools, our businesses, and our halls of government. Redballoon.work is a huge step in the right direction. Visit them today and sign up to support them in their mission. This is the key, I think, and Victor Davis Hanson has talked about this so much. Wokeness has taken every single cultural lever of power out there, right? So whether we're talking about politics, whether we're talking about the universities, Woke Inc., NBA, NFL, Hollywood, Disney, you name it. It's taken over all the cultural levers of power, just like cultural Marxists have always theorized of doing. But wokeness has yet to take over the hearts and minds of the people. And it can't. We're finding it can't. It can't because wokeness it even splits the left, as we've talked about a lot on this channel. Even people like Piers Morgan and Bill Maher. Elon Musk said this last election was the first time he ever voted for a Republican. A lot of guys who would have considered themselves center left are now being referred to as far right by their fellow leftist but woke ilk. And so wokeness, it seems to me, cannot possibly win the people because it ends up splitting even its own political aisle, the aisle in which it's situated on the left. So it unites the right and it splits the left. The right is united in that anything woke they despise. And then the left is split in that you put forward anything woke, 50% say, yeah, I'm all for it. But 50%, like Bill Maher, say, no way, go away, especially with the trans issues. So this is what I think. I think what's happening here is that wokeness, this is proof that wokeness has not, it's won all the other cultural institutions, but it has not won the people. And what you just saw is what happens when the people themselves feel threatened by wokeness. Threatened in the sense that now it's crossed over its political geographical barrier, its wall. Now it's coming into our backyard. It's coming into our faith, family, and freedom communities, and we are going to defend it. And that's the kind of, I think, cultural civil war, this clash of civilization within a civilization that we're seeing here, right? The two nations within a single country. I think it's very much derived from two very different spatial logics. That's my running theory in this. And I think it accounts for why the backlash against Bud Light has been so utterly visceral. Again, I compare it to the race riots back in 2020. Heartland folk were like, hey, guys, you want to burn down your own cities? You want to burn down your own backyard? Go right ahead. Go right ahead. But the moment that chaos starts spilling over into the suburbs and even possibly exurbs, the moment you want to try to bring that mayhem into our rural towns and communities, we're going to have problems. We're going to have some serious problems. And the rioters and activists found out real fast that the moment they crossed that geographical boundary from urban to suburban, you remember it, right? They were greeted with armed citizens by full-blown Patriot militias, telling them in no uncertain terms the very same thing we're seeing Patriots tell the Bud Light trans campaign: you ain't welcome here. Don't bring your woke insanity here. So I think that accounts for the extraordinary backlash that Bud Light has been experiencing, these geographical, political dynamics. And we could see it in terms of how, I think one of the proofs of it is we could see it in terms of how Mid-America and Southern beer distributors in particular are responding. So for example, we have a Montgomery-based Anheuser-Busch beer distributor called Bama Budweiser. They are publicly expressing their radical dissatisfaction with the Dylan Mulvaney controversy from the headquarters, as it were, even though the headquarters denied that they had given the green light for this thing. But Bama Budweiser, it's very interesting. They're airing a bunch of 1-minute radio ads on several local radio stations, stating their total opposition to this Dylan Mulvaney ad campaign. So in effect, Bama Budweiser is telling their customers, gang, this was a corporate decision, not a distributor decision. And so distributors are on the front lines to the consumers. So this is by definition a corporate consumer divide, right? This is a people versus permanent political class like divide. It's the consumer versus the corporate CEO. And what Bama Budweiser is saying is, we are thoroughly on your side, the side of the consumer. What the woke headquarters is doing here has nothing to do with us. It's got nothing to do with our values, which are the same as yours: faith, family, and freedom. That's what we're all about. And so this means now that local distributors in the heartland are pressuring the Anheuser-Busch headquarters to respond to their customers favorably and positively, that they need to apologize and they need to completely and totally forsake ever even thinking of going woke again. And in fairness, that pressure appears to be working. Hey gang, if you want to connect with more courageous patriots and start taking action and organizing, be sure to join my Telegram group. I post the latest breaking news I find interesting and chat with my favorite patriots around the country and even the world. Click the link in the description below and join the conversation today.